Just listen to some of the appalling waste we have already identified. $22 billion from HHS to provide free housing and cars for illegal aliens. $45 million for diversity, equity, and inclusion scholarships in Burma. $40 million to improve the social and economic inclusion of sedentary migrants. Nobody knows what that is. $8 million to promote LGBTQI+ in the African nation of Lesotho, which nobody has ever heard of. The media and our friends in the Democrat Party kept saying we needed new legislation, we must have legislation to secure the border. But it turned out that all we really needed was a new president.
How did you feel about his message regarding the economy?
I thought it was very positive. I think what's happening now, we used to be a country that would just let everything happen. Okay, we'll do this. You know, you guys, Panama can have this. You know, I think now we're taking back things that should have never been given away. So I think doing those tariffs and everything, I think it's well overdone. I mean, it should have been done a long time ago.
Donald Trump addressed the joint session of Congress, and it was completely amazing, right? All the Democrats could do is sit there and wave their little signs around because they were being kicked out of the meeting for being too disruptive at the beginning, okay? So what the Democrats haven't learned yet is that, yes, even according to CBS, American people like what Donald Trump is doing, and apparently they even like what he's saying, okay? But don't clue this into the Democrats, don't clue this into the left, because we want to keep winning elections, and especially don't tell that to The View.
So Trump's only been in office for 6 weeks. Seems like 6 years, doesn't it? And he's been going around with his cronies touting his so-called landslide and blowout win. But he won the popular vote by 1.5%, one of the smallest ever, and he won the general election by less than 50%. So what kind of mandate is this really?
Well, it is a mandate, and I'm going to explain why. And I don't mind the question, but let me be very clear. I'm no supporter of Trump. I'm a supporter of truth and the facts. And here's the facts. The man won every swing state. He increased in terms of his voter turnout in his favor from the standpoint of blacks, Latinos, and young voters. He increased his numbers in that regard from 2020. 89% of the counties shifted to the right. That's a mandate. We can sit up there and play around all we want to. In 2020, Trump didn't win the popular vote. He didn't win the electoral college vote. A matter of fact, the Republicans hadn't won the popular vote, if I remember correctly, since 2004. But they did this year. So 20 years after they last won the popular vote, they won the popular vote. They won the electoral college vote. The man won every swing state. And on top of it all, 89% of the counties shifted against. I don't understand how people can look at that and say, there's no mandate. There's a mandate.
Well, it's a different definition of a mandate, I guess.
But the problem is that if you're the Democratic Party and you lost 49.8% to 48.3%, and you're looking at that 1.5% dip, that's an excuse for you to say, what we did really wasn't that bad.
Some people didn't
we should continue to do that. No, don't continue to do that. Find a new strategy.
But do you think those groups, the black voters, the Latino voters, and the others that you mentioned, are they going to regret it soon?
Possibly. I think so. I don't like what I'm seeing from Trump. I didn't like what I saw with Zelensky. I didn't like what I saw with a few things. But in the end, the point, I didn't like it. But in the end, what it comes down to is this. The American people, in their eyes, it wasn't about him. They were voting against what the Democrats were throwing in their direction. I don't only talk to Cuomo. I did interview Eric Adams. I did interview Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. I interviewed these people. I've talked to them, and I'm going to talk to some more of them, too. And I'm going to say the same message. What are you doing to win? I love Wes Moore, the governor of Maryland. I love John Kerry of Pennsylvania, okay? I just interviewed Cuomo. I like him a lot. I want somebody to step up and recognize that man in the Oval Office, whether you like it or not, is potent. He's coming and he wins. You got to find a way to beat him. This way is not the way that the Democrats have been doing it. It's not about what it says about the Republican Party. It's about what it says about the Democratic Party.
Why?
Because in the end, if you think about him being impeached twice, 34 felony counts or 34 felony convictions, and they still elected him president, it's not about him winning. It was an indictment against the Democratic Party and what the Democratic Party was offering to American citizens. We might sit up there and talk about, hey, You should be a party for the working class, which the Democratic Party was once known for. They're not known for that right now. Why? Because their message was catering towards others and towards other issues. And they forgot about the people that brought them there, that elevated the Democratic Party to what it was over these last few decades. That's why they lost.
So there's Stephen A. Smith being very candid with the ladies over at The View, right? Why did Democrats lose? Because they forgot about the American people. They abandoned them. They abandoned all of the common sense ideas that make this country great, that supposedly the Democrats were famous for representing at one point. But now, of course, Donald Trump has rebranded the Republicans as the party of common sense, even though we always were. It's just now only being revealed after the death of wokeness and DEI and all of that garbage. And I love how he basically puts Joy Behar in her place. Donald Trump had a mandate, right? He won all the swing states, the electoral college, the popular vote, okay? And of course, the counties that were mentioned. Donald Trump had a sweeping victory, a sweeping win the Republicans haven't had in 20 years. And yet still, you have a bunch of Democrats out there saying, oh, it was not a mandate. He barely won. Just a scoosh, right? Trump made major gains among all demographics and communities, especially among younger voters, ages 18 to 40. This was truly impressive. So don't sit here and tell me that Trump has no mandate to do what he's doing, especially when the poll numbers are where they're at. People liked what Donald Trump had to say. And to point this out further, let's check out some Frank Luntz.
Luntz was the guy who on air corrected me when I said working class, and you said, no, Leland, paycheck to paycheck voters, and there is a difference. So credit where credit is due to you for defining this and understanding this. Why don't we hear about them anymore?
Because they're not a sexy topic. The media likes to talk about women. They like to talk about Latinos or African Americans. They want to talk about something that can polarize. And the paycheck to paycheck voters, Democrat and Republican, it's young and old. It's someone who's first generation or 15th generation. They're not divisive and they're not divided, with the exception of that they're desperate for politicians to listen to them, to learn from them, and to make their lives easier on a day-to-day basis, which means lower taxes. It means lower prices. It means focusing on food and fuel, housing and healthcare. And it really requires an understanding, not just of the economy, but how the average person lives from the moment they wake up in the morning until the moment they go to sleep at night. Politicians don't always get it. The media doesn't always get it. But as a pollster, these are the people that I hear from every single day.
What are you hearing from them now?
That they are really happy that people who should not be here are being asked to leave. That they're really happy that Washington's being held responsible and accountable for wasteful Washington spending. That they want to see the government be more efficient, more effective, and more accountable. The only criticism that they have is they don't want the president to take his eye off the ball when it comes to how much their day-to-day life costs them. These are people who, when you say paycheck to paycheck, it means that their house is barely paid for. It means that they have nothing left over at the end of the week or end of the month. And they want to make sure that this administration is as focused now as they were during the election campaign.
So while the Democrat Party has been putting all of their efforts into the they-thems of the world, into all of the DEI programs, right, into all of the illegal immigrants, Republicans have been focusing on what's actually important to people. And that, of course, is their pocketbook, the border, inflation, etc. All right, that is what really matters. And that's why the Democrats have lost the election, because they've lost the middle of America. They've lost the working class. And they can cry all they want about Ukraine and government jobs being cut, but people don't care about that at all. We're on Donald Trump's side, and we like what he's actually doing. So thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and say hi to your mom for me.